Welcome back to Cossy's Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy. Welcome back to a brand new video. Arsenal have a big injury crisis. Two key players are out, and we might actually be having other players going out as well. The big question in this video is what is causing these injuries, but most importantly, can Arsenal challenge Manchester City and Liverpool and whoever is going to be on top of the league this campaign with key players out? Do we have enough squad depth? In your opinion, do you think Arsenal have done enough in this window, in terms of keeping key players, but also in terms of bringing in key players as well in key areas? Do you think this squad is going to be able to challenge no matter the hiccups, no matter the challenges we are going to have this season, including key injuries to key players in key areas? So let me know in the comment box below. Let's open up the debate in the comment box below by asking, do we have an injury crisis? I think that's the big question, because two players being out, one would say that's not an injury crisis, Cossy. But I tell you what, Gabriel Jesus is just coming back. Julian Timber is out. Mohamed Elneny is out. And Thomas Partey is out. The significance of Thomas Partey and the significance of Julian Timber and the quality those two players actually possess, it indicates an injury crisis. It's the same if Liverpool lost Mo Salah right now and they lost Virgil van Dijk to an injury. It's the same if Chelsea lost Thiago Silva and they also lost Enzo Fernandez or Moises Caicedo to an injury. So for me, there is an injury crisis, but let me know in the comment box below whether you think actually Arsenal have an injury crisis. The second question we are tackling in the comment box below: will Arsenal sail through? Will Arsenal sail on smoothly or probably roughly as well with this injury crisis? It's a big question because, in my opinion, Arsenal have always crumbled under pressure, and Arsenal have always crumbled due to injuries. You look at last campaign, Zinchenko, Saliba, when they picked up injuries, including Thomas Partey as well, who actually played with an injury towards the end of last campaign, for me, that is the key reason why Arsenal don't win it. That's the reason why we did not win it. Injuries to key players in key areas at a very crucial time. So will Arsenal, and do Arsenal have it in them, in that squad, the quality, the depth, the numerical advantage to overpower these injuries and just sail onto that phase of the campaign where all players will be fit, all players will be back, and we can actually go on to win the Premier League, in my opinion. Right, let's start off with the big question: what is causing the injuries? Now, in my opinion, I was talking to the Arsenal fans on one of the WhatsApp forums, and I was saying that the World Cup in 2022 is a no-brainer. It is a huge reason why our players and why players around football, around the world, are actually picking up these injuries. So you look at players that played at the World Cup, and the injuries they are sustaining, they are massive injuries. They are huge injuries. We can talk about Lisandro Martinez. We can talk about players like, Militao. We can talk about Thibaut Courtois. But that's not even the big reason. The big reason is not the World Cup and, it being, it happening. The reason is the match fixtures. It's the fixtures. It's the way the fixtures were scheduled pre and after the World Cup. There were months where Arsenal played 9 games. There were months where Arsenal played 11 games in 1 month. In a space of 4 weeks, a team played 9 games. A team played 12 games, right? So for me, one of the key reasons why Arsenal are suffering these injuries is that kind of tight schedule. Obviously, with Thomas Partey, it is recurring. Obviously, with Julian Timber, it is not recurring. And he played at the World Cup for the Netherlands. And it was not only in the Premier League. Post the World Cup, every single player in every single league suffered the consequence of as many games as you can afford, as many games as you can actually play, in order to cover up for the mistake of the World Cup before the summer, in order to cover up for a mistake of a Winter World Cup. That is what was happening. That is the tragedy that actually happened. So when I look at Thomas Partey, when I look at Timber, I just pity the players because games are going to be much more difficult and games are going to be much longer, right? They were talking about making football, 60 minutes. I tell you what, the game of football is now 100 minutes. So you look at that game against Man United, we played 100. You look at, I think it is it Fulham, where we played 100 as well? And then you look at the Nottingham Forest game, I think it's 100. So a normal game of football now is 100 minutes. 5 minutes added on at halftime, 10 minutes or 9 minutes or 19 minutes added on in the second half. It's going to come back to bite the players. It's going to come back to bite the players, definitely. But I also want to ask the question and ask questions of our medical staff. And I'm not saying they're not doing a good job. They're absolutely flamboyant. They're absolutely, marvelous, and they deserve their flowers. What I want to say here, guys, is after losing our chief medical operator, after losing our head of medical, we're certainly looking at injuries that at times are reckless, and we're certainly looking at injuries that are kind of grave and strong. This is a new pattern at Arsenal. Yes, I talked about the fixture schedule. I've talked about the World Cup. But this is a new pattern at Arsenal. So you think about Julian Timber, a whole season. When did we last have a player out for a whole season? When did we last have such an injury crisis? A long time ago, isn't it? And then let's talk about Thomas Partey. Partey has a recurring problem. Partey has a recurring groin injury, right? Maybe that is known to the physical, to the physio and the medical staff, maybe dropping standards. Maybe that is because this guy is always out injured, right? But Gabriel Jesus, he underwent a knee surgery in December, January, and then he underwent a knee injury again recently. Is there something that we are not doing right, especially on the medical part of things? I'm not really sure. I don't know, but I think questions have got to be asked. Are these guys really doing their job to the maximum? Last campaign, I remember Eric Ten Hag was talking about why Arsenal were challenging and why Arsenal were, running riot and running rampant. And he said one of the reasons why Arsenal are lucky, he said we were lucky, is we have been very lucky with injuries. Were we lucky with injuries, or did we have a very good physio team, a very good medical team that kept good care of our players? I think it is the later rather than the former. I think you take care of your players, you keep good care of your players, and that means you can avoid injuries, right? You look at Manchester City. When do they suffer this huge amount of injuries? Of course, they've got that kind of squad depth. The rotation options for Guardiola and the way he uses them, they are absolutely magnificent. But again, they don't suffer, key injuries. When is Rodri injured? This guy almost plays every game. When is Ruben Diaz injured? When is Ederson injured? Right. So for me, questions have got to be asked of our medical team. Not to sack them and not to put them under pressure, but they just need to look into it, just to find the reason why we are going into an injury crisis early into the campaign. We've got to ask questions. But let's talk about the two other points. The biggest one is, can Arsenal challenge with key injuries in key areas? Do we have the squad depth per position? In goal, I think we are all right. Aaron Ramsdale did put in a very good performance against Manchester United. And I would say if I brought in David Raya for Ramsdale, if I brought in Ramsdale for David Raya, it is absolutely fine. It is absolutely all right, okay? There is no problem there. There is nothing to be worried about. I don't think swapping Ramsdale for Raya or swapping Raya for Ramsdale would cost Arsenal the title. I don't think that would actually happen. I think Raya being on the bench, when you bring him on, it makes us stronger because we're bringing a goalkeeper that is hungry to play and overthrow the establishment in Aaron Ramsdale. And you will see that when he plays. When you play Raya and you bench Ramsdale and then you bring in Ramsdale as a rotation option, you will be getting a hungrier goalkeeper determined to overthrow the new, could we call it the new goalkeeper in David Raya. So for me, in goal, we are absolutely sorted. But how about the other areas? At right back, Tomiyasu is there as well. So I think at right back, Ben White and Tomiyasu can do actually a very good job. At centre back, that is where my problem is. That is where my problem is. Maybe at left centre back, Jakub Kiwior and Tomiyasu could actually do a massive job. But still, William Saliba is a key player now. He's irreplaceable because we don't have a clear-cut, concrete option to replace him. And even if you replaced him with Ben White, even if you replaced him with maybe Kiwior or Tomiyasu, you don't get the same output. You know, he's like Virgil van Dijk at Liverpool. Gomez will get his flowers when he comes in and does well against the Villa side. But the consistency from Virgil van Dijk for 4-5 years is what makes him a special player. It's what makes him a world-class defender, a world-class centre-back. And what makes William Saliba a world-class, aspiring centre-back is the consistency for me. Last campaign, when Arsenal played football with this guy, the amount of security, the amount of, just being sure that we will not concede ridiculous amounts of goals and ridiculous, forms of goals was up in the air. And when Arsenal actually lost him, Gabriel shattered, Rob Holding shattered, and every part of our defense actually shattered. So we're one William Saliba injury away from that back line becoming, absolute shatters. In midfield, Thomas Partey is out injured, but I still think Declan Rice is gonna do a very good job against the Manchester United game. 3 interceptions, 3 out of 3 recoveries. He's a monster. He's an absolute monster. I think he had a passing ratio of 88% and also scoring the winner. So without Thomas Partey, I think Arsenal still alright. With Declan Rice, without Odegaard, Fabio Vieira is showing us signs of I can take care of it, and I love that. I love it when Arsenal have players that can go, I can take care of it. So I think without him. Without Odegaard, Fabio Vieira can take care of it. Without Kai Havertz, obviously Trossard, obviously Emile Smith-Rowe, we are sorted there. On the left-hand side, Trossard and Martinelli, we are sorted. On the right-hand side, I don't think we are sorted. At striking, at centre-forward, we've got to find a striker. We've got to find a striker in squad because the market is closed that can actually be as consistent as none of our strikers have been all season, last campaign, and the campaigns before that, right? So, in terms of squad depth, you could hear that, you can hear it in my voice that I'm confident. You can hear it in my voice that I know Arsenal will be all right. Arsenal will be all right. We almost have 2 players per position, apart from William Saliba and probably Bukayo Saka. The rest of the players will be all right. The rest of the positions will be all right. But does that squad depth then have the quality to replace the players that we are actually throwing out and then stay at the same level? That is a huge question. When you take off Saka and bring on Reece Nelson, do you get the same quality? It's just a question. When you take off Kai Havertz and you bring on Trossard or Emile Smith-Rowe, do you retain the quality? Do you upgrade? Do you downgrade? When you take off Partey and bring in Rice to replace him in midfield, does it increase in quality? Does it decrease? Generally, I think Arsenal's second team has got the ability to win our group stage. Like, that team has the ability to win the group stages of the UCL. That is how much I trust them. That is how much I believe in them. Vieira, Trossard, Reece Nelson, David Dwyer, all those boys, they can actually go on and do it. So I don't think we should be panicking. I don't think we should be really scared. Of course, it really calls for a part of concern. That's why I've done this video anyway. I just think we will be all right. If we can manage the rest of the squad. I don't know how you manage the rest of the squad, because listen, someone could pick up an injury during international duty. That is a problem. Someone could pick up an injury in training on international duty, and that injury manifests at Arsenal when they come back. That is another problem, right? But the injury crisis at Arsenal will come to an end eventually, and I pray by the time it comes to an end, our best players are back. We are still in the title challenge, because that will give us a massive boost, and things might actually turn around. Last campaign, we lost the title because injuries and players were out. This campaign, we might actually sail on, reach the time where you need extra depth, and then bring on players coming from injuries, and that could be the difference, and that could be the edge, right? But of course, let me know what you think about the topic in the comment box below. Make sure you find me on the 90 More podcast. I'm going to be uploading I did upload my team of the week, obviously. It was a controversial one, but one that you guys loved, right? So I'm going to be uploading one lesson every single team learned from the weekend, and that is going to be our weekly show, where we review every single game and suggest one lesson that every team learned from the weekend. You have to watch that video, because for Arsenal, the lesson is absolutely crucial. I'll speak to you right in the next one.